Morning, everybody. If I spend about 10-15 minutes talking about the foundation, why we set it up, how we're working, what we're trying to achieve. So in September last year, Andrew Robinson and I have been working together for a couple of years and launched Foundation for Digital Creativity to try and bridge the digital skills divide that we both knew about, thought we understood, and thought we knew a way to help education, industry, young people, communities. We'd worked together for a couple of years. So the foundation now is a community interest company, it's not for profit. Andrew and I had worked together with me being a teacher, so a senior teacher, and then working with professional development with teachers, with community projects. Andrew as an engineer, and for the pair of us to try and remove barriers to learning, to use industrial standard technology and to bring about advancements that would help people to develop their own digital skills. So this is us working with adults and children on a whole continuum of digital skills knowledge. So we're working with developers who will use some of the add-ons to Raspberry Pi, which Andrew's developed, things like PiFace, if you're au fait with Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi, for some people that I worked with in 2013, 2014, teachers who wanted to increase confidence levels, a Raspberry Pi actually looked the most scary thing ever. To me, I see the excitement. If I look up and I see the International Space Station and I think about how Tim Peake took 2 on there, and we're using the same experiments and the same data collection in a school in Armley, and comparing the data, that's really exciting, but it's not to everybody. So Andrew developed PiFace, he's developed something called CodeBug, which is a wearable, and we use it in schools, we use it in adult learning communities, but actually developers are using this to prototype new methods. So very much that whole continuum. So that's how we started. Our last project before the foundation was something called Connected Hull. So it was funded by Hull City Council, and it was connecting people through a connected network, through a things network infrastructure. I think it might be more of interest for me to show you projects and what we're doing. And as part of Connected Hull, that was through IoT. So it is literally people as young as 7 up to 75 creating their own projects with IoT. Why did they do it? How did we do it? That's what I'll go through. The vision is around digital making, but literally for anybody to have a go for the first time. So I'm going to say that coding can change the world, and if you can program, and can we use those building blocks, but it's not for everybody. But if we can give more people the opportunity to try it, I've got a daughter in year 7 who goes to a great school locally, and you can tell with the language that that might be very different from an Ofsted summary. She goes to a great school and she comes home inspired every day. She will do no computing formally this year. Will that equip her for a digital future? I think generally the skills, it might be, but that's one discussion point that might come up later. So digital skills isn't for everybody. We would love more people to be able to have a go. And then we think about the research. So last year, I had a research paper published with Leeds University, which is looking at making in the formal curriculum. So we work in a whole area of conflict. If I'm working in education and we're thinking about our projects, which are focused on solving real-world problems, they're equipping young people with the skills that, if you're in industry, you tell me that you need when young people come through. We're working with iterative design. Then why is there a conflict in schools and that doesn't happen? We haven't got enough time this morning to talk about curriculum reform. But what is the driver in school, and why isn't there more digital making, and what we're talking about here through digital manufacturing through that? So our projects are generally, if it's IoT, looking at connecting people and solving real world problems. Might be air quality. That's something that we're working on at the moment. How we're doing it then? So I've spoken about development of hardware. How we've worked before, if we've supported teachers to go from an ICT to a computing curriculum, if we're looking at digital making in schools, removing barriers to learning to give everybody the opportunity to build something, to make a change, for them to make a change. We talk about air quality, then at the moment you can buy an off-the-shelf product, you can build an air quality sensor. What we're going to do is to get people to code it. So as well as changing the quality of the air that communities are breathing themselves, they're going to increase their own digital skills. Spoken about the infrastructure, the focus is on education, adults and children, and then we do this through building partnerships. So it might be the university, it might be the libraries. We're a small team with a larger group of associate developers and educationalists, and we're part of a huge maker community. So first Wednesday of every month, generally, I'll open the door to the Leeds Raspberry Jam community. Andrew's across in Manchester. And that's how we'll work with partners to do what we really believe, through talking to others, is the right thing to do to bridge this divide. So I talk about the foundation actually being in the heart of a lot of conflict. Let's see take the positives and see what's been done to help the situation. If we think about the strategy, we've got the new Institute of Coding. How will the government spend the £84 million increasing teacher confidence? And also thinking about diversity, girls in STEM subjects, girls in computing. How can we encourage more female coders and makers in the future? To do that, working with education, so looking at professional development for teachers, working with children as well. So we do a lot of children working in a paired programming environment. The kit's at the back, you can have a go at yourselves later. But then also we're supporting teachers to say, do you know what? It's physical computing, it's hands-on making. If we give children a challenge, and we've done the development so that they can block code, they can go into Python, they can use Java, it's their choice, but they've got the problem to solve, then actually you can throw that challenge to them and stand back and see how they work together. And that gives teachers a lot of confidence. So that's one thing that we do, and it's pedagogy in practice. It's how we approach that. We don't just work with schools, we are working with organisations. So again, we can get the feedback in terms of what you're looking for skills of the young people coming through. But community, actually, maybe I'm thinking about parental engagement, parents and carers. Had a shift over the last couple of years, particularly about apprenticeships, and a positive shift. So those routes to digital making, we're working amongst different organisations, those different communities. Because we're a community interest company, then we're looking for funding to be able to deliver and to scale. So we deliver activities, we deliver workshops, we've got an online portal. And at the moment, you might see through the Twitter feed, Inspiring Engineer, so funding through the IET, iMechEng, and working with 7 to 14-year-olds and teachers and communities to build the start of IoT projects creatively. Other activities, got some lottery funding to look specifically at air quality through IoT. That will start over the next couple of months, and that will be with communities with not necessarily children in West Leeds. So that will be people making a difference to the air that they breathe, making changes, changing behaviours, but also building up their digital skills. I've left a project at the back, which is a group of teenagers in Wigan who they collaborated with council workers, and Enviro Youth Hack. Out of that came a project which was focused on supporting the elderly in the borough through fuel poverty. So they were taking temperature and humidity data and trying to make a difference that way. Get creative. If Matthew talks about the Jacquard loom, it was Ada Lovelace, of course, that spoke about weaving algebraic patterns. It's one of the reasons why we've got creativity in the foundation's name. It was taking Ada's gift of giving us the term algorithm, which was not widely known in 2014 in the education community, and taking that through her creative vision. I know some of you are really technical and are kind of thinking, well, how do you work and what do you do? Just one slide, if we're looking at the IoT arena community, then one community that we work with is Things Network. We're using Raspberry Pi. In Connected Hall, we built our own gateways with Raspberry Pi. Things Network have got their own now. But literally, we're pushing data up to the Things Network, but then using our own Invent Things website as well to make it more visual. So in Connected Hall, lots of different projects, each pushing data up, and go straight to Things Network. We'll use Invent Things. And then from there, we're going to talk about bigger data, and we're going to talk about the Key Stage 4 curriculum, Post-16 curriculum, and we're looking at data science, and we're looking at bigger data, beyond computing now, beyond making, but across all of the STEM disciplines. And this is the approach that we use. So to register a device, whether or not it's a Raspberry Pi, if it's a standalone, if it's a prototyping board, to make a thing, so to decide which problem you're going to solve and how you're going to build that yourself, and also then to design an app. It's probably more build an application. So if we just run through, register the device, it's quite difficult at the moment if you've never used making stuff builds before to do that with Things Network. And that's why we've removed those barriers to have a go by saying, get your Raspberry Pi, get one of these, plug it in, go to Invent Things. We've done all the work for you. So you can kind of forget about that and just do it. So register your device, make a thing. So if it's Internet of Things, we're looking at sensors. What kind of environmental sensors have we got? Well, the top two with temperature and humidity, we spoke about fuel poverty, identifying fuel poverty, doing something about it. If we've got elderly people in a particular borough that are living in conditions where temperature is less than 16 and the humidity level is greater than 50, then there's probably a problem. If we're looking at light, GPS, UV. So make a thing, decide what you're going to make. You're going to push that data up, or are you going to pull it down from somewhere else? So we're going to have a global project where we're comparing climate change over time and looking at patterns and trends and looking at the data science. So you're going to push up, you're going to collect and push up, or you're going to pull down. Really interesting conversations about that with air quality at the moment. And then build the application. So what have we got here? We've got this little treasure from Manchester Raspberry Jam. So she's 6. She used block coding with her mum. She came along. This was her smart lantern. So she was putting more light into their Christmas tree by taking light levels from the room at the Jam. She'd take it home, and then that would manipulate the lights on the tree. That's all she was doing. But actually, that's a massive learning shift for her. That was brilliant to watch. These are the teenagers from Wigan that were looking at fuel poverty. Bottom right, we've got, spoke about partners. I work with Junction Arts in Chesterfield. This is a brilliant project called This Girl Codes. So based out of Bolsover, and it's looking at upskilling a group of girls, and then in the next couple of months that's going to scale up and it's going to go into generational. We're going to be working with their mums, grandmas, and aunts, and looking at IoT applications. Here they've gone down the heritage link. We've got Bolsover Castle. Driving down the M1 and you look left, you'll see the castle. We've got the heritage there. We've taken the heritage link to lead through the arts. So the girls visited the castle. They've taken the architectural knowledge that they've learnt and they've brought it back and they've made light boxes which respond to the environment through IoT. And then finally, top right, this is a lovely project. This was just on Friday. So this is working with Emma at Playful Leeds, Young Inventors session. We supported on the final day. The fish is a bioluminescent sea creature. So we had a group of 11, 12 young inventors between the ages of 9, probably 14, who wanted to take plastic pollution and the difficulties there and communicate that to adults. So to make that shift, to communicate the problem and to work with parents and to work with adults and to share the message to say, do you know what, you can make the change. If you just bin off the disposable plastic bottles, if you make a change and you use canvas bags rather than the disposable bags, you can make a difference. because the bioluminescent animals, if you watch Blue Planet, they're getting dimmer and dimmer with the amount of plastic that we throw into the ocean and that human effect. And those sea creatures reacted to the environment around them on Friday, and they got duller or brighter. And it was just a really nice communication method. So that's the approach. It's very serious in the background. So bridging the digital divide, we know there's lots of conflict. We know through research that there's lots of conflict. We know that working with authorities, this side of the Pennines and the other side as well, we've got a digital skills divide. We've got a gap. How can we help to bridge that, to equip adults and children? I know my heart definitely is in the education sector, but then working with communities, really how can we start to make those links?